All right, thank you for joining in here this afternoon. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. And today the ICF Core Competency session is going to be on the Embodies, the coaching mindset, right? So I'm giving a little bit of context to that. Instead of doing that in terms of the coaching as general, I would like us to really take a look at during discovery call, how can I actually still embody the coaching mindset, whereas the sales pressure is there, right? So I just want to have a sense in terms of who is in the room here. How many of you are actually independent coach that you need to do your own discovery call and to actually get your client to sign up your coaching program here, right? Just type in me in the chat. If you are internal coach, you can just type, I'm an internal coach of certain company. Also, you can just type an internal coach. Okay. If you are an independent coach, you can type independent. Yeah, maybe change to independent. Okay, external coach. Thank you. Hope the session is getting recording. Okay, I think I am recording that. Let me double check. Yes, I am recording that. Okay, cool. So I'm seeing some external coach, some independent coach, right? If you are neither one of them, are you like thinking about setting up coaching practices in the near future? Also can type, near future that I'm going to be setting up some in my own coaching practices and etc. Right? So it's just to give me a sense in terms of who's in the room. Okay, great. Thank you, Shweta Arti, near future. Great. And Dr. Nira as well. Right. I guess today's topic is going to be very relevant for coaches, all of us, because there is kind of like an onboarding that we need to do with our clients, and how can we still using the core competency as a guidance in terms of embodying the coaching mindset itself, right? Amidst all the pressure, and it really depends on how you show up in the sessions at the end of the day, right? Thank you for your input in the chat. I'm going to ask more of that later. Is that okay? Give me a thumbs up if this is fine. Okay, great. I got some responses. Okay, let's get going here. Also for mood check-in a little bit. Yeah, my slide. Okay, how are you feeling here in coming into these sessions here? I use this really cute animal here, which is a red panda, native to the Himalayan eastern side, right? And type in inside the chat, which one describe you the most at this point of time entering into today's session here? Yeah. I nearly get a chance to see this animal when I was trekking at Arunachal Pradesh last year. And when I was up in the mountain that we were supposed to trek, and my tour guide says that, Charlene, climb over the other mountain and 10 more hours you get to see this animal. I'm like, no, next time. So this is a red panda, really endangered animal. I thought it's cute, right? That's why I put up this and put in some caption here. How are you feeling? E. Okay, what are we going? Yes, come on, let's go. What about the rest? Or like you are the D and can't type anymore. Okay, maybe you go like, okay, what's happening here? Let me come in and take a look. Yes, love panda, all of them. My kids are loving this animal as well. Oh, and by the way, in Singapore Zoo, we have this in the zoo. Yeah. So, great. How about the rest? What are you feeling here right now? Or you can have an option G. Tell me how you feel right now coming here. B. Okay, what's happening? Great. How about the rest? We have about like 7 participants here. I only got like 4. Okay. Type in the number. If you can't type, you can unmute yourself to speak as well. Just give me have a sense. Okay, I think the one who type in E can't wait for me to go to the next slide. Let me just get going. Okay. Okay, this is going to be a little bit more two-way conversations. You can unmute and also speak up as well as we are going along. I love to hear some of the stories as well from what you have been experiencing and what you might want to ask in terms of how do we embody, right? Coming back to the definition a little bit, what does really embody means to you, right? And in my own experience, embodiment means it's a conscious, intentional kind of integration of mind and the body. And when we have an experience of certain things, we have thoughts, we have sensations, we have feelings, and we have connections to what we are experiencing, right? So that is the meaning of embodiment. And especially in this particular core competencies, I want to get over the cognitive understanding of mindset. How about that? We got to get into that body to really take a look at, hey, how am I carrying the kind of coaching mindset, and especially in the discovery core? And it's really important because if we are not mindful and body fully understanding what are we speaking to the client during the discovery call, which is a typically onboarding sessions, most likely the client will not be invited into the coaching subsequently with you. In other words, you fail to close the sales. Okay? So what are you understanding in terms of what you are experiencing when you step into the room just now, as I ask you to put out, what are you feeling with the panda picture just now and versus now? What are you noticing? Type in the chat any words at all. Because getting presence with what your innate feeling and sensations at this point of time will tell me a little bit more about how much you enter into a session with your client as well. This might be something worth to reflect as we're going along, because this particular mindset talks about openness, curiosity, flexibility, and also client-centered kind of conversations. Curious. Thank you, Arti. All right. Because in our in the coaching profession, they are both personal development and professional development. In this particular context, what might be considered as a professional development? It would be a questions to actually post as well. Okay. Right. Okay. So since presence, thank you, Nikhil. Any more expression that you would like to bring in? Where are you right now?
I can share my experience.
Go ahead, Kishore.
The early part of my coaching, when I just began, I knew during the discovery call, I have to come there with an open mindset. I need to be curious. All the good words that you have put there, everything I knew, this is what I should be. But there was one fear that would always drive me. What will happen after this?
Yeah, fear. What will happen after this? So that is an indication of like, I'm worried about whether the client will come back. I'm worried about whether the client will like me. I'm worried about whether the client will sign up my coaching package. Very valid.
This is how I began my journey. And over a period of time, I understood that if at all a client decides not to work with me, it could be a issue of fit. That's not a certificate that I am not a good coach. Because the client is not going to know in my chemistry call that whether I'm a great coach or not. Okay. So discovery call is about finding the chemistry. Whether I want to work with this person or this group, or whether I am a good fit for them.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like, it's as simple as this. If I go to buy an outfit for myself, I am looking for L size. But if the person has got double XL or S, that doesn't mean, oh, my body is not good.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and you talk about client fit, which I like as well, that topic. I had that in the last session where I talk about the demonstrating the ethical practice, and I talk about client fit there. Right now, we are into the session itself. How are we finding out whether we can actually invite the client into our coaching mindset? And how do you demonstrate that coaching mindset through what is innate in you? Right. Thank you for sharing, Kishore. That's very insightful. Great. Okay, let's move on. If you have anything more to share, you can share in the chat as well. As we go along, you can unmute. Okay, I want to skip through the boring stuff, but I still want to show this slide directly from the ICF Core Competencies updated in this September in 2025. There are some new add-ons into here. You guys, you can easily Google what is being added on, but I will go through the 10 of them in a different sequence here today. Okay, looking at how my discovery call or chemistry call being penned out And I would like to invite you to take a look at, why are we talking about coaching mindset in the discovery call? Because a lot of problems with a lot of coaches are when I have to close a sales versus I have to coach, they see these two parts as a very conflicting kind of self, right? But when the pressure is high, and then you've forgotten all about the coaching mindsets, and then you kind of like shift from like, I need to be authentic, I need to be present, into like, I need to close the sales, right? Can you feel that pressure, right? Sometimes we've forgotten, what am I here for? Am I here to close the sale? Am I serve the client? If I coach a client, I can't close the sales. If I close the sales, then the client doesn't like me. It's a very conflicting situation, his struggle, okay? So I particularly choose this particular context in the range of coaching journey with a client is because this is the best time to demonstrate your coaching mindset in action, okay? Would like to invite you to take a look at Discovery Call. Is not a sales pitch. There is a sales and business development element in it, but how can you also demonstrate that mindset, and how are you going to say, and what are you going to say, how are you going to be, right? And here's a reflective question here. How are you inviting them with your coaching mindset? Some coaches may say things like, oh, I am actually a very assertive coach. Or some coaches may say that, hey, I am a holistic coach, right? I take a look at every part of your life and etc. Some coaches may say that I'm a performance coach, right? Some coaches may say things like, oh, I can help you to plan your career and etc. So there are many different types, and depending on what are your types and how may you invite them into your coaching mindset in terms of who you are as a person, right? So let's get deeper into that, shall we? Anyone would like to share anything or questions at this point of time? Okay, cool. Okay. So what are we talking about here? Discovery call journey, right? A very typical discovery call journey we have, like where we arrive into the session. And how do we stay curious? How do we honor the context of the clients and myself? And how do I maintain the presence of myself and the group of people in front of me today in this point of time, right? And how do I empower my client to have choice at the end of the day, not feeling being pushed, not feeling being obliged to actually sign up a coaching sessions with you at the end of the day, right? So putting this up as a guideline in terms of how might a discovery call session look like. So just stay with me a little bit here. Okay, I'm going to go through one by one. Okay, any questions, or anybody has a little bit of deviations of how your discovery call journey might look like that you would like to share? Or this is a very typical flow for you too. Yeah, give me a thumbs up if this is kind of like typical flow so I can have some interactions. Thank you, Kishore. Great. Okay. So how do you bring in your best self as you are arriving into the session? Do you check in? Do you actually maintain certain emotion, physical, and mental well-being into the sessions? Because this is a pre-work that we need to prep. I have some some checklists here for you to take a look and consider. But my personal practice is I'm a Reiki practitioner. I'll do a bit of Reiki on myself, and I love 4-7-8 breathing as well, because these reduce a lot of anxiety, anxiousness, or everything that I was carrying before I enter into the session. I need to let that go, right? So this creates a lot of groundedness in me, and to be in a receptive stage before I engage with my potential client. And this, it allows my client to feel the real me, the prepared me, right? Preparation, a lot of people thought that it's actually a given thing, right? But it's not, especially in the Zoom session kind of coaching. Take a look at it. How many times did you actually do a back-to-back sessions all day long and non-stop? And you will notice that after the third client, your client call kind of like messed up a little bit, right? So now here's the questions. What it might be your long-term practice be to arrive fully present? Could anyone share your current practices in the chat, or you can unmute to share as well, so that we all can learn here? Any other practices that you might have before you enter into the session, or even when there's no session in the day, do you still practice the same? Anyone would like to share? What's your personal practice? Grounding. Thank you, Sweta. Keeping enough breaks and intention settings. Elaborate a little bit more, Nikhil. How do you do that?
So I usually before I'm starting a session, I keep some time to think about what has happened in the previous session, or maybe if it's the first session, then who am I being right now when I'm entering this session, and what is my intention? Usually, the intention is about being available to the coachee or the sponsor, or being present. So that's kind of a grounding, but I do that intention setting within me by closing my eyes and sitting for some time before the session. Yeah.
Before a session, like 5-10 minutes kind of time frame for you to settling down. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. Great. Meditations, Dr. Nira. Anyone else to actually do certain types of practices that you can share and then everybody can learn and pick it up as well? Because this is a very important stage. As a coach, we always have to be prepared because you will never know when are you entering into a discovery call in certain networking situations. And sometimes you might want to bring in that coaching mindset in certain types of conversation, even though it is a 5 minutes conversations with some of the particular prospect. Or even though sometimes your client suddenly calls you up and says that, hey, Charlene, I'm in sudden stuckness right now. Can you pick up phone call for 5 minutes? Are you ready for that? Yeah, this is what I meant by what might you be practicing even when you don't have a session in the day. Okay. I do post and yes.
Yeah,
Go on.
Charlene. What I do is I do post-session silence. Like if I've had like a 1 hour session, after that I sit with myself for at least about 10-15 minutes. I make my notes. I reflect on, the conversation. And particularly the idea is to see what I was doing in the conversation, what were some of my thoughts, if there are unprocessed emotions that I've experienced during that conversation, to help myself process through it. That's something that I do. If I have my coaching clients come home, as in I have a workspace at my home space, if I have them come over to my place, then I definitely, before the session, I set up the entire space, even lighting an incense stick, or, making sure that I clear the air around to, that's my way of moving around a little bit and setting intentions before someone walks in for a session.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. You kind of like jump into my last slide on the post-session reflection. I'll come to that again later, right? Just bear in mind with what Aishwarya just shared, because post-sessions is also something important for us to reflect, right? I'll come to that later. Okay, yeah, Dr. Nira is also talking about pre and post session kind of caring for ourselves, right? So that we can maintain that particular mindset anytime that we need. So moving on over here. If we were to be inside the sessions, everyone says that I want to be curious here in the sessions and I want to make sure that, client stays curious with me. This is a very genuine exploration where coaching happens the most when we being curious, right? How might we follow their energy, and how is actually we asking, what's really happening, and how do we create that space in between myself and the client itself, right? If you're hearing some noise, I'm so sorry because upstairs is drilling. So in these genuine explorations, I just have something to share here, because one of the client recently that I am coaching, and I have a little bit of doubt if I have actually explored enough with her, if I have actually created the space for her, because there is a lot of curiosity in the sessions. However, sometimes it got me to question one thing. Is like, what else is true about that situation, really? Because I'm putting up a example here on this part. What else is true about that situation, right? It got me to question, is my version her version, or her version is the only version she knows at that point of time? And sometimes this actually linked to the other bullet point of the core competency, talking about biasness, which I'll come to that later. So when we are curious, sometimes we might have bias, Okay, so how might you want to take a look at the biasness in you as you are being curious, right? We all know that we are okay to be silenced. Sometimes giving the silence into the room allows a little bit of thinking process to sink in, right? Especially in the discovery call, sometimes you might have learned certain scripts and a way of doing discovery call, and you go like script by script. It's very rigid, right? I will encourage you to follow the client's energy, have the script at the back of your head, just like a coaching model, right? Nothing much difference. The script is just a model. Yeah. But what the client needs in the point of time, which the client needs you to follow, to kind of like mirror them sometimes. So that actually will create an authentic interest to guide the conversation's directions. So there's not really a formula here in discovery call, though that you may have learned one or two discovery call format from different mentors, or you found it online yourself. It's all about how can I have that mental model at the back of my head, but when I actually speak it out, when I actually relate to the client, it is actually following their energy here. Okay? So what comes in your mind, you can actually jot down some questions. I'll open up some time later on for a bit of Q&A. Okay? Okay. Go on to the next one, which I want to share the most. Yes. The biasness, I talked about it earlier on. Sometimes when we are being curious, it actually is a false positive bias, right? And sometimes when we are not aware about the context and the culture and others. So I gave 3 examples here. This is my personal journey with some of my clients. Sometimes it's very easy to ask, what is your goal? Right? There isn't any contextualization in it, even though both you and the client is talking about certain topic. Let's just say in workplace. And when the question lands with the client, it's good to actually say an explicit line. What is the outcome look like in your current role within your organizations? Right? So this actually changes the entire dynamics. When you say, what is your goal? The client subconscious mind opens up too many possibilities. Whereas the conversation is talking about your role in your conversations. Okay? Do you see how to actually close it by a certain way of questioning? This will help in the discovery call when you needed to find out, what kind of goal that you both are working on towards. Okay? Learn how to really move beyond generic questions. Some of my clients, they come from different faith and religions, and then one of the clients recently wants to get into a Bible school. And she's been talking about it, and then she even talk about how the process looked like. I don't understand, to be honest. I'm not a Christian. And as I am realizing the difference in terms of the faith and religion, I change the questions. I go like, okay, you're talking about Bible school. So then I ask this question, how might this impact your personal growth as you are accepted into the Bible school? Because in the context-wise, she asked me, should I or should I not enter into the Bible school? Right? This is a backstory. So sometimes I may ask my client, are you a person of faith or religion? If I don't know, because I may have suspecting that will become the way of thinking that they are in. And I just want to, check it out. Are you a person of faith or religion? And I just ask, what kind? And that gives me a lot of context, and so that I do not fall into my own personal biasness about certain way of thinking, right? And especially true if the coaching topic works on, faith based kind of goals itself, okay? Neurodivergent client, I have plenty of them. And people think differently on different spectrum. Understanding the different spectrum allow us to really take a look at our own neurotypical biasness. And sometimes it just need to create a different communication style for certain type of neurodivergent clients. Because processing articulations is very, very challenging for this type of client. Though that they are very high functional, very intelligent, but sometimes you just need a little bit of different space, right? And especially if you find out certain client really can't follow your chains of thoughts during the discovery call, and you might think that, oh, I'm not a good fit. Have you ever think about you're really not a good fit? Or how can I expand further for this type of client if you're suspecting that, if they are not sharing with you about their neurodivergent situation? Some clients are open. Some clients are not in the known. And some clients, well, they just don't know, right? But if you are bumping into a lot of neurodivergent clients, questions here that I might invite you to think about is, what kind of space that I need to expand for them that I do not know that it exists, right? Okay. Any questions so far? Any sharing so far? Any thoughts that's been generated? Let me pause here for a while.
If I may ask, Charlene, what kind of neurodivergent clients have you experienced in the past? Is there any
Yes.
particular case that stands out for you? And
plenty. High functioning autistic, undiagnosed autistic. That means they go through their own online test and they suspect that they didn't get an official diagnostic. ADHD type of clients. But ADHD type of clients, though that they say they suspect, but if they are still high functioning, if they have a coping mechanism that they can build on from the coaching work itself, which is actually still a good way to set up a good habit, right? We always talk about good habit, not so good habit. And when we set up a good habit with them, a very typical way that we always think about, I can do it, you can too, but this is not the case for them, right? And a lot of people always think that if I can do it, you can do it too, but it's an unfair statement. And you got to assess to see where they are in terms of the capacity and ability, right? And sometimes in a neurotypical person, biasness sometimes can get into the way of the neurodivergent people, right? Because people will say that, I can do it. Why not? Why can't you do it? Right? And then they may he may hear sentences like, oh, my family members can do it. How come I cannot do it? I'm just different. I'm just not the same. And whatever things I say is so opposite from the other persons. So those are the telltale signs. But you cannot diagnose the client, you see? So how can you embed this coaching mindset to be really aware about your own neurotypical biasness in this neurodivergent situation, instead of letting that get into the way of their worldview? You know what I mean? Okay. Yeah. So that is actually training on your own curiosity. Yes, you may be curious why he can't do that, but also at the same time noticing that I think everyone should be able to do that. But that's not a fair statement for the other side. Okay. So that is the biasness that we always have to tap into, because the keyword here is really to ask with sensitivity to each client unique context. I put it up there, right? It's their worldview. And these are the kind of like the different spectrums of how the brain development it looks like, cultural-wise, religion-wise. I would say, yeah, it's actually diversity in this context itself. Okay, does that answer your question, Aishwarya?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, to a large
Cool.
extent. Thanks, Charlene.
Great. Yeah, in interest of time, let me move on a little bit. Okay, so sometimes when we manage whenever we are present in the room, our presence actually can influence the other person. And your presence is influencing this room as well. That's why I ask you, where are you at currently, right? Entering into here. And your emotions will actually maintaining the other person's emotions as well. Okay, take a look at this picture here. This is this coach here. I think he's a football coach or soccer coach. And he's really cool, sitting down here, looking at his team playing, versus a different type of coach who is like down there at the field, just like shouting, you go here, this one midfield, whatever field, right? So two different types of coach. And the players will have a very different way that they play when they are connecting to their coach. Think about that. If your client is on the field and you are shouting at the other side of the room and says that you got to do this, do that, and you got frustrated because the client just doesn't move, and the client just doesn't listen, and especially in the discovery call, the client just doesn't want to buy, and lots of rejection come in, your emotions will override your intelligence, and your body language and your facial expressions will show. And that is when your client subconsciously thinking, if this coach can't manage his or her emotion, how do I think that he or she can manage mine? Okay, this is a subconscious thinking, but a client may not be able to articulate it in that way. But your emotions, your awareness of your own influence towards the others does play a part, and in your coaching mindset. This is how are you going to be able to maintain certain level of influence and your own emotions as the client is articulating their concerns. Sometimes I see coaches go like, oh, I'm like you too. And then, I had a similar experience. And then when that's when the client and the coach pulls down together and, in a discovery call situation, well, the client felt hurt, but you lose a client. You know what I mean? Okay. So sometimes when a client comes in with a lot of skepticism about coaching, when you name the price, especially, right? And they will have a lots of objections. Sometimes are you still exploring the objections with curiosity, or you're being defensive about how you coach, your pricing, your package, how each coaching should look like? You must have a 12 sessions with me, therefore you will get success. What are you holding up to? That doesn't allow you to be curious. And that is the emotion that you might need to manage a little bit. Okay. An example line here I put up is, I appreciate you bring that up, right? It's important consideration. What actually the concern that actually you're thinking here based on this particular objections. Okay. And that actually keeps the dialogue open rather than you being defensive and then you don't get any clients afterwards. Okay. Any thoughts, comments, and questions at this point? Okay. Is this useful? Give me a thumbs up if this is useful so far. Okay, thank you. Okay, you can type in the chat. I'll take a look at chats as well to respond later. Okay. Coaching mindset is actually how you show your professional development in action in real time. Okay. There are 3 competencies here under the embodies the coaching mindset. Is really how are you going to demonstrate ongoing learning, and how are you showing your personal awareness being in the coaching sessions with a client. And also sometimes you might need to seek help from outside sources. I'm giving some examples over here in these 3 bullet points down here. One of the favorite line for me as I am sharing my coaching methodology is I always say that my coaching practice actually incorporating a lot of somatic practices, and also I do integral coachings and in terms of who you are, and that will allow you to act with clarity so that you know what needs to change in your life, right? So this is my coaching approach, and I'm confidently sharing with clients. I'm also sharing here the same as well. How might your sentence be in terms of showing them your coaching approach, rather than some people go says that I'm using GROW model, I'm using NLP model. They don't understand. I'm sorry. Client, you have to understand a client heard about this buzzword, but they don't get it. How you are helping them through your development as a coach. Okay. So in terms of the self-awareness portion, sometimes you may have intuition that if something is holding the client back, right? If let's say I'm asking for a response here and then nobody is having a hands up, and I'm seeing you guys here is like looking at the screen and get stunned there and not responsive. I go like, okay, maybe something is boring. Maybe my question is not working, right? How can I actually shift that into a more visible layer to allow the client see for themselves too, right? Some lines I'm suggesting here is maybe, I have a sense that maybe something else is coming up for you there. Because maybe you're feeling a choke here in your throat, in your heart, in your body just feel aching while talking to a client. And this is your personal self-awareness, yeah? And maybe it's your own body ache because you didn't sit well. Or maybe it's a client's projections on you that you feel really uncomfortable. Then it's valid to ask a question, is there something we haven't touched on that feels important here for you? Because this is how you can use your own personal awareness to actually ask a useful client for the client to think about, hey, what else might be there inside this looping? This works really well, especially Client keeps talking about the same thing, especially in the discovery call when they are wanting to seek help and they go and loop and loop and loop. They're talking about their father, their mother, their husband, their wife, keep on the same story. So, and it makes you feel really downwards, right? And pay attention to yourself, craft a question quickly, and get them out of the loop. This is how you can actually make use of this particular core competencies here in terms of the way that you question. Seek help from outside sources. This is pretty straightforward for those people who need a little bit different type of helps. I do have clients who are neurodivergent type. They do see psychologists and see coaching at the same time, right? So sometimes I may reference out if I see certain cases is actually not justifiable for coaching. Oh yeah, recently, there's a grieving case that a friend asked me to see if I can handle that. Personally, I don't take up any grieving case, especially grieving for someone who is passed away, and especially it's a minor, right? It's a teenager person. And then I told my friend says that I don't feel like comfortable to take on this case, and then I gave him a set of psychologists and counseling that I work with as well, that I can actually refer it out. So these are the resources. It's good that you have built up a kind of a network of support. If you see certain cases that need help, refer it out. I have ever referred out a potential suicidal case as well, right? The wife actually come and call me and says that, can you help my husband? I ask, what's happening? He's depressive, he's suicidal, and all these things. I go like, okay, let's find something useful for you. I do work with a counselor who works kind of 24 hours, right? But of course, additional charges during certain timing, because there's a need for that, and then that become a valuable resources for that family. She does attend cases in the like 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 3 a.m. kind, but she does charge exorbitantly as well. So this is what they want to do, right? But it doesn't cover in what coaching I can actually provide, right? So do build up your network of support as you are going along in your discovery call, because this will become very handy if you notice that the client needs something beyond coaching. Okay, this is really important here. Okay. This is last two, yes. And over here, this is the last two portion here is really post-session itself. This is particular on the post-session. Regardless whether you sign up a client during the discovery call itself or not, it is always important to explicitly empowering the client, right? And sometimes we want to empower them to make a choice to choose us. And if you have demonstrated the coaching mindset and inviting them into your coaching mindset, they will kind of like understanding. And therefore, in their mind, they will have a questions of like, is this a good coach for me? Can I work with him or her, right? And that allowed them to think for themselves. That allowed them to be in the driver's seat instead of you. Okay. The last point here is talking about post-session reflection. All the calls, coaching sessions, discovery call, take 5 to 10 minutes after that. If you don't have the luxury of time, if you have luxury of time, 15 minutes to half an hour, that's fine too. Ask yourself these questions. What did you notice about a client just now? What did you notice about yourself? What might you want to refine? And this ongoing reflective practice keeps you open, curious, flexible, and client-centered. Because this is how you as a coach can grow through the reflections. And if you're going to coach the same old way, after 200 hours and you didn't see a progress in your coaching skills, something is not right there in terms of your development. And I am pretty sure that the reflection wasn't there. Yeah. So this is very important for us to actually, especially you hit the milestone of, this is what my first mentor who told me, she said, if you're starting from 0, when you hit 30, you will see some differences in your coaching skills. When you hit 100, you see a drastic change. When you hit 250, you see another drastic change versus another 500. So for me personally, I'm still below 1,000. So I'm working for that. Next year, I'll be hitting 1,000. So I'm seeing what might change for me. Yeah, so I invite you to take a look at the milestone and reflect upon yourself. What might be the coaching style that has changed? How might have you asked the question, right, to your client? So, yep. Yeah, thank you. I see a thumbs up there. Any questions so far? Oh yeah, I think one last piece here. Yes. Because reflection itself is it's a need, and it's both professional and business development needs. Okay. Whether you are internal coach that you may not need to sell, but you still need to sell to your client to come to the sessions every day. Imagine if you're internal coach for an organization, and then your boss assign you a high potential manager, but the manager doesn't want to work with you, then it doesn't work too. All right. So it's in any sense, you need to sell an idea that coaching works, and that actually sells through your coaching mindset that you demonstrate it to the client, right? Because every experienced coach will know this, because every conversation is an opportunity to really deepen our embodiment of the coaching mindset. Even though it is a one coaching questions in a half an hour conversation with friends, sometimes you open up people. Okay. Opening up for questions, any thoughts, sharing it all before I go into the last piece. Yes. Someone
It has been so informative.
Thank you.
So you don't leave any scope for questions.
Yeah. I did mention that questions will be at the last. I'm testing out here, by the way, to see what works. I have a very different style in the last session too.
Okay.
Does it work for you, Kishore, in today's session?
It does. It has been very informative.
Okay.
So many memories for my own mistakes and areas for improvement coming in front of me.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
What's the top one mistake that you would like to share with the crowd here? Because we have just started kind of coaches in the room too.
I was just trying to explore. There was one specific case where I had a discovery call, and in that call we had the client, the client's manager, and the HR business partner. End of the call, everyone said it was perfect. Everyone committed that, hey, they are going to come back and they are going to start. They're going to go ahead. That's what they said. And then that coaching, nothing moved after that. And I did, because I felt reflection after that, I felt it was really a good meeting. But what would have happened? I just thought, and then I kept moving on, because I had always some work, some client coming in. So not much time left to analyze, okay, what made them not come back? Would have been multiple reasons. But today I'm reflecting on, maybe there must be something that I could have done differently.
And what might that be?
As of now, I'm not clear yet.
How long ago was this?
So 2 months back.
2 months back. Okay, not too long ago. Still worth to reflect.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. Interesting. It opens up 2 months ago coaching, and there may be some other coaching conversations that all of you might have that's opening up right now that's worth reflecting. What happened then? That got me to share. Think about one client here that I want to share here is, this is a very tough client. I would say the toughest client I've ever worked with. And she wanted it in a very rigid format, right? So I brought up the rigidity in me as well inside the sessions. And this was a case 2 years ago. And what happened was, ended up, she didn't want to continue the coaching session because of my rigidity. Yeah. Because she asked for that, and then she didn't want that. And that got me reflect, how did I lose that client? She didn't finish the package, by the way. Halfway to the package, she dropped off, and I did a refund, and it was not really a pleasant ending for me. And I kept thinking about the situation, what actually did not happen in the session that got her to drop out from the entire coaching sessions where I give her what she wants. Sometimes what the clients say they want may not be exactly what they need. I learned it hard from that. session, that package, right, 2 years ago. And subsequently, I validate and revalidate. And especially over here, the biasness. I was talking about biasness. Biasness come from contextual biasness as well, rather than other types of biasness. Because I was going through the sessions in the way that she wants, and it didn't yield results because this is what she wants. Otherwise, she would have changed in the coaching topic that she said she wants to work on. Because I did not realize my own biasness in terms of the rigidity, and that resulted her into saying that this is not working for me. That's why. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Kishore. That triggers some thoughts for me here about this client.
I think this particular competency is also somewhere very close to, there is a very beautiful article and a concept given by Warner Brook called as self as an instrument for change. And I think if we all get our hands on that article, it's something that will help you reflect. In fact, psychology even talks of this in terms of transferences that may happen. The client may want to want you to behave in a certain way because they see a certain object or an image from the past and want to project that onto you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
if you pick that up and you're acting in a certain way, then those are also, so there is more to the story than just saying that, hey, this worked for me and this didn't work for me. So and as a coach, if we can explore on what really happened in the dynamics between the coach and the coachee, I think that's where the change, or that's where the development really is. The way we would have coached about, the first client to the 1,000, the 1,000th client.
Wow. Could you share the article in the chat, Ishwara, so that everyone
I'll
can
find it and I'll share it with our
the group. Okay, great. So moving, so mindful about time here, don't want to hold you back. Just want to show you the last part of the things, right? As we can stay a while if you guys have still other questions, but I would like to share this thing here is, when we talk about embodying the coaching mindset, sometimes it feels very technical when we had to say this, we had to do this, there's so many things to handle. What does it really mean when the integration becomes effortless, right? I was talking about good habit and a bad habit. Some of my clients are working through that. And I go like, if the good habit, it become effortless, it become really inevitable. You cannot not do that anymore. When you are reaching to a stage whereby you cannot not see that this is part of like your professional craft, like integrated into your human presence. And where this is when curiosity, openness, and trust and flexibility actually opens up. I used the word innate early on. And if it's innate, it really becomes inevitable. Right. This is my last piece of sharing here today. Right. Welcome any thoughts, sharing as well from the group. If you have any questions you would like to ask. For those who want to connect with me on the LinkedIn, this is where you can scan and you can connect with me. Otherwise, you can find me in the group chat, in the community as well. And yeah, feel free to connect. Let me come back to here. Okay. Thank you. You can take a screenshot and you guys can actually connect with me over the LinkedIn. This is where I active the most. Okay. Any sharing at all in terms of what you have gotten out in today's session? You can type in the chat or you can unmute yourself to share as well. What's your one key takeaway?
For me, I think what you spoke about, being aware of your own biases in the session, and being sensitive to the differences that the client may bring in terms of neurodivergence, or whether it is cultural differences, any other kind of differences. I think that really stood out. So thank you, Charlie.
You're welcome.
Bringing that up.
Thank you. Aspiring for the inevitable. Thank you, Naziza. Not only doing the coaching, but being the coaching. Yes, absolutely, Shweta. Because this coaching is very much like a doing if you're first time learning this. And I was too. And I still remember I have a question bank, right? I have question bank in terms of cards, like, our name cards. And I type in and write in. And then whenever there's a session, I have a stack of cards that's floating on my hand. And hopefully I can remember the question to ask the client. So that's how I practice in my, before I hit 100 hours. And I was having that stack of cards. I was thinking, okay, if I can throw away the card, would I change? I really throw away the stack of cards, like literally chuck it down to the bin and it's gone right now. And the coaching has become different for me. So I learned how to embed that in my presence. And the question does come along the way as well. And especially the part when I am able to be more self-aware throughout the whole journey. And that's when my awareness of client also change. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Sweta. That's important. Being present to diversity. Great. Coaching is not only about technique. Yeah. Thank you for sharing about the stack of cards that was in practice. Throw the cards away, RT, because you don't need that. Yeah. Trust yourself is, you can see yourself as the thermometer to your client sometimes. When you're boiling, that also shows that the client is actually boiling, right? In terms of the temperature. When you're cooling down, the client is like, oh, he and she is in a calm state. And that actually is, in a neuroscience way, we call it the co-regulations. And that actually will influence how two beings is actually connecting to each other. Yes, throw away the cards. It's highly, highly recommended. Embodiment of mindset we are taking and how we can put it to use in discovery called curiosity. Yes. Being curious, even about the objection, sometimes is really, really helpful, right? Whenever it says, I don't have time, let me have time first before I do coaching. I don't have money, let me have money first before I do coaching. Why are you not having time and the money? Isn't that what we are working on? You see, that's how you actually can throw back if the context is they are working on money and time kind of conversations. Yeah. So there's three things I would like to share that all human beings would want. One is money, one is health, and relationship. So take a look at how might your client topic falls into these three categories, and it's really easy to work with. Just a background context for you. Okay? Money, relationship, and health. Your career, your business, your side hustle, all these things related to money. Your savings, your financial growth, all these things related to money. Your relationship, your love relationship with your spouse, your children, your boyfriend, girlfriend, your company bosses or your co-workers, those are relationship kind of conversations. And health, needless to say, is pretty straightforward. I coach to grow. My responsibility as a coach to grow so that I am not ceiling of their growth, but the container that ever grows. Oh my God, this is so lovely, Natesa. The container of the growth will only grow if you grow yourself. Right? This is something that I spoke about as well in how to grow your coaching mindset. I think it's one of the slides too. Yeah. The ongoing reflective practice will help you grow as a coach, as a person. And when we do reflection, preferably if you can write it down, not jump up everything in your mind and say that I have done my reflection. That doesn't count. You are just cluttering your mind. Your mental space is very limited. If you're doing reflection in your mind but not writing it down, that doesn't count. That doesn't grow you. That clutters you actually. That gives you stress. Try that. Write it out. Okay? Paper and pen works the best. If you can't and you're really, really busy, type it out. Okay. With that, any other sharing? Otherwise, we are good to close here today as well. Okay. I hope the session has been useful and you brought in some practices that you can incorporate in your coaching practice, and hopefully to see you next month again. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.